the Bunny Man.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror. Any witty comebacks? Insert witty comebacks here.
Fresh out.
Fresh out of witty comebacks. Might need to go for the store for that.
Which shelf do they have it on?
Aisle 7. Third from the bottom. Left.
Next to the soup.
Next to the soup and irritating remarks. It's right across from the unintelligent, stupid stuff people say some days.
Mm-hmm.
But usually that's blocked by a really large woman in one of those rovers.
In one of those
Rover things.
rovers.
Eating a snack cake.
In a moo-moo.
And a moo-moo.
Yeah.
Complaining that she's hungry.
Saying, can you get that for me? No! What are you doing? Did you have some kibbles?
Alright.
You knocked my drink over, didn't you? Nope. No, you didn't.
So we're continuing the Bunny Man's birthday extravaganza in September. It's almost been a full month. On the 19th, it'll be a full month since my birthday. And always a question, do you feel any older? No.
Are you grumpier? Yes. Slowly blossoming into that grumpy old man that yells at children for being on his lawn while being in his underpants.
I'm not in my underpants yet.
You don't have your own lawn yet. You
Hmm?
don't have your own lawn yet.
Well, I am getting tired of children
Yeah.
that are not my own.
See, yeah, you're slowly blossoming into that
Oh, come on.
terrifyingly grumpy old man.
But we have people above us that just constantly make noise.
I'm not saying it's not justified, but not any less creepy.
Okay. I'll just make a monster house.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not the size of a house, but
No, you're not dead either. Or a carnival freak.
then why did you make that comment?
I don't know.
I'm evil enough to possess a house.
Maybe we should just get a terrifying old house. Anyway. Well, we're going off land into the ocean.
Yeah.
So we are reviewing the movie Ghost Ship 2002, which is a dark castle film. And the only film in that entire sort of like they only made a handful of movies. I think this one and Gothica were the only two that were not a derivative of an early William Castle film. But there's a very similar movie that this is basically a ripoff of. So, and that can be found in on Tubby TV. I think it was done in the 70s. It's a really low budget film. I get to watch it, but that's more about a ship that's been lost at sea that people board. Not like this.
What did we watch this off of? Was this a hard copy?
Yes, this was a hard copy. I think it's on Tubby though. I mean, not Tubby, Prime. I think. Don't. But this was definitely a hard copy.
So this is Ghost Ship. It is rated R. It is 1 hour and 31 minutes long. It is listed as a horror film. And IMDb gives it a score of 5.5 out of 10.
It's pretty high up there for what we do.
It's up there. So,
You want to do what are we drinking? So what are you drinking?
I will give self-respect to every good Southerner. I'm having sweet iced tea.
Okay. And it's brewed with Tetley's. Because we only like our British iced tea. British leaf iced tea. Lipton has a weird taste.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
It has a bitter finish.
So, I'll be honest, I'm sort of confused by this entire label. That's the one thing that really sort of sets me off on this whole thing. So I think the company's called Studio Beer. I think the drink is called Ferguson. And is an oatmeal stout. Because the way it's laid out is...
The typography and the coloring is very awkward.
Well, and it's the brewery first. So, and big, on the label is like massive. And then there's this pint that sort of looks like it has a comb over. And then and then the pint's cut away, and then there's like some like French curves in it. On like separating, and it says Ferguson on it, and then oatmeal stout on the bottom. So again, a really confusing label. And then on the descriptor or on the back it says Studio Beer. It's in Bristol, Virginia. It gives actually the address and the website. It's studiobeer.com. Or Studio Brew. Studio Brew. So, it's not Studio Beer, Studio Brew. And it says, oatmeal stout brewed with lactose and cocoa nibs. And then it gives brew notes.
Cocoa nibs.
See,
Cacao.
Cacao.
Sorry.
It's so weird looking. It's a weird word. It says brew notes. Creating this oatmeal stout. We start by using oatmeal, roasted barley, caramel, chocolate, and 4 other malts. Adding 2 different hops for bittering to create an enjoyable experience for you and your friends. Serving recommendations: temperature 50 to 55 degrees in a tulip glass.
You have a tulip glass.
Yeah, but pairing notes. This craft beer pairs nicely with biscuits and gravy for breakfast. We also suggest hearty steak, grilled meats, and most wild game accompanied with grilled or fired roasted veggies. Aged cheddar followed with chocolate, caramel, or dark fruit desserts to create a fabulous experience. A favorite pairing is sharing this oatmeal stout with friends while sitting by a bonfire.
Biscuits and gravy?
Well, beer originally was a breakfast drink.
Biscuits and gravy is so heavy, then you're gonna have it with a heavy beer?
With chocolate.
Bloated. I'm gonna be so bloated.
With chocolate on top of it. Like to me, chocolate and biscuits and gravy don't go together.
No, this is chocolate gravy on biscuits.
No.
There's a thing, you know.
There is a thing. I don't eat sweets in the morning.
Almost the beer claws.
I don't need beer claws. Like Danishes.
It's basically the same thing.
I only like the cheese and fruit ones. Not a big fan of any of the other ones. But I mean, I like it more savory breakfast. I can't do like a chocolate fountain at first thing in the morning. It's enjoyable. So it has a weird sort of taste to it.
Mm. You have a weird sort of look to you.
I think it's like I think it's the caramel or something.
Cacao nibs are kind of bitter.
That's a bit of it.
It's more of a bitter chocolate.
Yeah, but it's more like alcohol-y.
No, it's that it used 4 different hops.
Yeah, but it has sort of like an ethanol.
It smells like coffee.
Yeah, but try it. You see that ethanol?
The aftertaste is very... Ugh.
You see what I'm saying? It has sort of like an ethanol taste to it.
I think they just overkilled the hops on it. 4 different hops is just too much.
Yeah, you really want to keep it, especially when you're dealing with cacao nibs, and you want to. I don't really taste a lot of the oatmeal. So yeah. So you think it's the overkill on the hops?
Yeah.
I do not recommend this. There's other oatmeal beers, chocolate stouts out there that are, I feel, are far more superior. But you're not here to get my beer reviews.
Okay.
You want to review your tea?
My tea is fine. I made it myself. Not too sweet, not too bitter. Just right. Luna, how's your cookie?
You want to tell the viewers what Luna is eating?
The Luna is having chocolate chip cookies made for doggies that don't have any animal byproducts in them because the Luna can't have that. And they're her favorite. Can you sit? No, you can't have it yet. Can you lay down? Can you lay? These cookies will make Luna do anything. You sniff it? Yeah.
Okay. So, back to Ghost Ship, 2002.
The director is Steve Beck. The writers are Mark Hanlon and John Pogue. The cast is Gabriel, Byrne, is that right?
Probably, yeah.
As Murphy, Julianna, Margulies. No, that's not right. Anyway, plays Epps. Ron Elders plays Dodge. Desmond Harrington plays the ferryman. Isaiah Washington plays Greer. And the rest you can find on imdb.com.
Okay, so honestly, out of this list, there's only like one noticeable name.
Yeah.
Like, noticeable character in this entire film.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the guy who plays Epps. He was in Lord of the Rings. He played the lead.
That's a girl.
No, not Epps, but Greer. Was it Greer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it Dodge?
Maybe Dodge, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Dodge. He's the only one that has any sort of, like, face recognition.
Right.
Just because he was part of a really large movie at the time. Like, he did Lord of the Rings, and then he did this movie.
So this film was nominated for one award, the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards in 2003 for the worst film.
Okay, but let's be honest. And I just want to put this as a preface. So, contextually, the early 2000s were really weird with horror films. Like, in my opinion, there really weren't any decent horror films out there. And a lot of the horror films in the early 2000s, if people don't remember or haven't seen them, they were a weird mix of Japanese influence, because that's when Japanese culture really sort of, like, hit America shores. So the Japanese culture type of lore, but dumbed down to America, because, like, The Grudge made it in this, in America. So everybody's like, oh, we could do Grudge-like stuff. But other than that, I mean, a lot of the horror films in the early 2000s fell flat and are incredibly hard to watch nowadays. Because we started seeing, like, the uptick in CGI. We started just a lot of the scripts. Because I think there was a writer's strike during that time, too. So, yeah, that's sort of my rant about early 2000.
So a salvage crew discovers a long-lost 1962 passage vessel, floating lifeless in a remote region of the Bering Sea, and soon notices that its long-dead inhabitants may still be on board.
Well, liner and vessel is sort of like, you could use it interchangeably, because it was at one point a luxury liner.
Yeah.
So, there's that. So, let me take it away.
Go ahead. It's your birthday.
Do I feel any older? No. Do I feel grumpier? Yes.
Oh, we know. We know.
Alright. We open up with some very cheery music. And we focus on a cruise ship. We see everyone is enjoying themselves as they dance and eat and dine some more. We see a dinner singer as the main piece of entertainment, and I'll be honest, she's good looking. She's a handsome woman.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really weird to say that.
That's what they said back then.
Yeah. So at the beckoning of the singer, all the people in attendance of the dinner joined into the dancing, and we see some gears moving and a metal line tightening. Then a metal line cuts through the people. After the line goes through the crowd, they all stand there in shock for a second, and then they all start falling apart. So I give this a kill 1. I actually give this like a 5 out of 5. I really enjoy this one. This is like one of those kills that sort of just stays with you. You really enjoy it. To me, you really enjoy it. It's one of those things that the Dark Castle really started doing, was just dismemberment. And they especially like to show like brain matter. But what I really liked about it is that they didn't insta-die. There were people like trying to cuddle up with their torsos or trying to put their arms back on.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
What you failed to mention was that there was a little girl dancing with one of the crew persons, and she survived.
Yeah.
She was still holding on to the torso of her dance partner and screaming.
Mm-hmm. Who would happen to be the captain of the liner.
As she was looking around upon all the dead bodies of the crew members. Or,
no, it was the passengers. The passengers. And so, what did you think? Oh, and she watched as this guy, the captain's head just sort of just slid right off. Just.
Yeah. So basically, it was a giant group jump rope.
It was a giant orgy of dismemberment.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't jump at the right time.
No. Or was it a group, how low can you go with a moving... Because jumping would be hard, because the way it looked like it started up top and then slanted all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it would have been a more of a limbo feeling.
So she's surrounded by the bodies of her slain shipmates, pieces of them strewn about.
Yep. And then we cut to modern day. We see a crew salvaging a ship. One of the crew heroically saves the ship from sinking as the captain is screaming at them that he's going to cut loose the salvage. So we sort of get everybody sort of role in the salvage crew with this like little scene. As he is yelling, one of them seals the leak on the deck of the salvage ship. Next we see them cashing in the salvage, and the captain meets the rest of the crew at a bar, and he throws the money on the table, which I don't understand why he's doing this. I mean, you're in a room full of other people. Why throw the money? I guess it's a salvage bar, but still, I mean, that's like flaunting it. And then, and you think that would grab some attention. And then they all congratulate themselves for a job well done by clinking cups and stuff like that. And as they started drinking, a man named Jack Ferryman comes over to the crew and asks to speak with the captain, who is Captain Murphy, alone. But Epps steps in and is like, "No, we're family, and blah blah blah. You speak to all of us." So he shows some photos of a boat adrift in the Bering Strait. And, of course, this big liner that's just out there. And all they see is money signs at this point. They're just... cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So they're all interested, obviously, because of the large boat, which is possibly military at first. The crew didn't want to because they'd be away for a long period of time. Like, one guy was like his fiancée. The others just don't want to be on board anymore. You know, it's coming towards the end of the season, the salvage season, and times are getting... I can imagine, you know, especially when winter set in, it's going to get harder and harder. And let's be honest, of course, at that point, everybody was like, until Murph goes, we'll split it all 6 ways evenly. And they're like, oh, okay. And the only thing that Ferryman... The two conditions to it is that Ferryman wants 20%, and he comes along onto the ship. And then, of course, the crew doesn't like that. I mean, who would want an untempered noob on a boat? And I can see that. I mean, who wants someone you can't trust on a salvage crew? That could get everybody killed. But they all agree to it, and the next thing we see, we are back on the Arctic Warrior, which is the name of the ship. And then as we see some ocean stuff, The crew are chilling while Santos, the co-pilot, the current pilot, sees a blimp on the radar. He calls up Murph. And first, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't see anything on the radar. Then Santos performs some, what we call a engineering pro move. And Ed reappears.
He gives the screen a good knock.
Yeah. It's a engineering pro move there. Then everybody's called up to the bridge, and one of the guys is called to move up to the light. As they are looking for it, and they're looking for the ship because it's blimping on and off the radar. So one man goes up to man the light, and because it's storming outside, because it's the ocean, and as they're searching for it, they run right smack dab into the boat. And
she's a biggin.
Yeah, she's a and then they pan up to the name of the ship, and Murph knows the story behind it, and he says that it's been missing since May the 21st of 1962 off the coast of
Labrador,
next to Cocker Spaniel. The boat.
I think it's a part of Spain.
So there's a Cocker Spaniel.
Okay.
The boat just, and then as he recalls, the boat just disappeared with no distress call. Ever since her disappearance, Murph says salvage crews have been looking for her without any luck, and has sort of been one of those dreams of his to be the guy to capture this ghost ship. And of course he's been hoping that it hasn't gone down. And by the luck, the salvage ship is theirs by salvage laws. And the crew jumps into action. You want to continue, or do we...
So they fire up the crane to get inside. Murphy tells them they all have to stick together. She might not be too sturdy.
They were saying something about with the years of exposure and just being out, the deck place could turn into quicksand. So, okay.
They get to the main level, and Greer loses radio contact with them. They go on toward the bridge. The tough guy leads the way and falls in through the floor. It takes all of them to pull him up. So they finally get to the bridge. The compass is dead. They notice it's set at full throttle, which it must have ran out until it was bone dry. The helm was not responding. They decide to get some sleep and come back and explore her at dawn. They go back to their tugboat and turn in.
Tuck in on a tugboat.
Epps and the ferryman have a convo. She tells him she thinks she's seen a little girl on board the ship. But she couldn't have.
She sees him right as they're all helping the guy who went through the deck.
He tells her when he takes long flights, he has thought he has seen things before.
Like there might be
but it would vanish as if a dream.
Like an ape on a wing.
They go to bed, and the ferryman is on the deck the next morning and sees bubbles coming up from the water. It's the team. The ship has the hull damage. The ship has hull damage. They have to fix it to tug her. They come up with a plan and go aboard to fix her.
Well, you sort of forgot some weird stuff that was happening. So, so Murph was looking for the captain's log throughout when they were on the bridge, and he was looking through some papers, and he finds a digital watch, which we all know didn't actually it happened in like the 80s, so it wasn't around since like 19. The digital watch was an addition to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some creepy stuff going on, like the grandfather clock ticking, and this like little board that you can spell out words saying "Welcome aboard." You know, normal dark castle. There might be ghosts on the ship stuff. Okay. The next day, they inspect the Antonia Graza, which is the name of the ship, and they find a rupture in the hull, and they started fixing the rudder. And then they go and do the fixes and a little exploration. Epps finds bullet holes and casings into the pool on the lower deck. Munder is experiencing radio issues. We see Epps is examining the pool when she sees the girl again.
She slips and falls in.
Yeah. Murph finds the captain's cabin and finds a bloody razor in the sink. Greer finds a shaft and what looks like bones are at the bottom. Munder and Dodge find the engine room and it's flooded. We are back to the pool with Epps, and Jack shows up. As Epps shows Jack the bullet casings, the pool fills up with blood. Then that comes from the bullet holes, but they don't see that, obviously. In the meantime, Murph finds a bottle of booze and pours himself a glass because he doesn't drink. He doesn't drink anymore, so we find out that he pretty much was an alcoholic at some point in his life. And he pours himself a glass. He looks into the mirror, and as he lifts the glass to his lips, he sees the reflection of the captain. Murphy drops the cup and wonders what he's doing. Greer finds the mess hall, and Epps and Jack find central laundry. She turns the valve, and bodies come flooding out of the compartments that have been there for months or less because they're pretty fresh. The compartment fills with water. The crew fights to get to the surface of the water, and the hatch closes, and they are trapped and start looking for another way out. Greer, at the time, is in the mess hall and starts fiddling with a piano. Greer notices a smoldering cigarette with lipstick on it. Greer calls for Epps with no reply. He sees the performance sign for the singer Francesca. He commented about her looks and then reminds himself that of the future Miss Greer. Jack and Epps find their way out of the laundry. Jack sees his dream car, a Jaguar, 1958 X150. But Epps is not amused and wants to get out now. Then Epps sees a box moving in what is the mailroom. She opens it up and it's full of rats. Under the rats, there are bars of gold. gold. And of course, salvage law dictates anything found aboard is fair game. Epps tries to call anyone on the radio. All she gets is someone saying her first name, which is Marine, which no one calls her by that. Next, Ep goes into the galley under protest of Jack. She opens up the walk-through fridge. She goes in, and two creatures in bags come running at her. Go find out it is Munder and Dodge. She reveals the gold. Of course, this is such a stupid... This part irritates me, because at some point she's going to have to come... Like, they're expecting her to come to the walkthrough. So they've been waiting in the walkthrough for how long? To do this one stupid scare? What if she never came? She reveals the gold. Next, the team goes into the hold, and they find boxes of gold, even more boxes of gold. Next, we see them sitting down, looking at the gold bars. Dodge notices they have been filed down, making them untraceable.
The markings have been filed.
Yeah. The markings have been filed. Which, it could be Nazi gold.
Sure.
Because back then, that's what everybody thought of. Because a lot of gold disappeared. A lot of gold disappeared during that time. So. And then... And Greer wants to get off the Graza because it's jacked up, and he opens up about what he heard, which was a female voice singing to him. They all laugh at him. Then they all decided they are going to call the Coast Guard about the boat and take the gold and leave. They begin the onboarding process, and our old shipper, then a ghost hand turns on the propane on the Arctic Warrior, and Santos, who was working on the engine, because I guess it has a series of issues of not working, was gathering up his stuff after he finished up because the engine now worked, and he turned on the engine, and the Arctic Warrior and Santos go up in a ball of flames. And after that, and then Greer is saved at the time of this happening. The Ghost Girl warns them only to be tackled off of the rest of the team, plan on patching what? I feel like it skipped something. The Ghost Girl warns them only to be tackled off. So just tackled off of the boat. With that said, they all get their composure, and the rest of the team plan on patching up the boat, clear, and then aim to clear the rocks that are coming up, and hope to be seen and rescued when by another boat. And they're going to start this all in the AM.
So is this when they all have their own unique experiences?
Yeah.
So the first mate drinks and wallows about missing his soon-to-be wife. The two workmen go and dare each other to eat 40-year-old canned food.
It's not 40 years old. It's vintage. vintage food. Get it right.
Vintage usually implies that it's antique. It's nice. Food is not nice.
The MRE guy told me differently.
Those foods are preserved.
These foods are preserved too.
In a way to where you could probably eat them 40 years later.
Except for Peckham. Or Peckham?
Freeze drying things, they could probably be eaten 40 years later.
Yeah, but
Canning?
Pelcom.
Pelcom, yeah.
You can't... I found out Pelcom, chocolate, and crackers are not good 40 years later. And vintage MREs. Let's put that on a tray. Nice.
Okay. 40-year-old canned food, which turns out to just be a giant can of maggots.
Well, they were really chowing down on it. It looked nice.
After they had already enjoyed a lot of it. Yeah. Maggots.
Let's put that on a tray. Nice.
No, that's not nice. Let's not put that on the tray. Let's not even open that. I can feel it wiggling all the way down.
Protein.
Squirmy.
Protein.
Murphy goes and hangs with the captain. Epps goes and finds out what really happened to the little girl. Greer sees what the ballroom was like back in the days originally and gets to meet the singer, Francesca. Greer tells her he is just going to go with it because he knows it's not real. So everyone ends up having their own unique ghost experience and conversation. Katie the ghost tells Epps that once he gets his quota, they will be ferried away. Murphy runs away in a hurry to leave, yelling for Epps, and runs into the ghost of Santos. So the captain must have told him what was up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Greer is still following the half-naked singer. He ultimately falls right down an elevator shaft. Murphy tries to kill Epps because he sees Santos instead of her.
You know, it's like that old TLC song, "Don't be go chasing any half-naked ghost ladies, or you go falling down an elevator."
He danced his way right off the edge.
Well, he certainly did something right off the edge.
They put Murphy in the aquarium thinking he is drunk. They decide to stick to the plan and fix the boat. They patch it enough to get it afloat. Epps gets to the boat, lined it up, and she gets looking for Greer, and the little girl points him out. He is impaled at the bottom of the elevator shaft. The little girl Katie takes Epps back and shows her what happened so she would understand. She goes to get Murphy, but it's too late. He is drowned in the aquarium.
Okay, I have to say, this is one of the most secure aquariums I've ever seen. Like, the top had its own porthole, like, locking mechanism.
Yeah, well, it went down.
A bulkhead.
It was like for 2 different floors.
Yeah.
It was a massive aquarium.
It was.
It was like a cylindrical shaped aquarium.
With a bulkhead on it. That was the weirdest part for me.
She goes to get Munder, but he is ground up in the gears of the boat. All that's left is Dodge, her, and Jack, the ferryman, who Katie told her was the bad man who started all this in the beginning. She left Dodge with a gun, and he uses it to shoot Jack, like it helps.
Yeah.
Epps sets explosions to open up the hull of the boat and sink it once again. She fights with Jack, and he tries to bargain and reason with her to give her life in exchange for fixing the boat. She says she wants her shipmates back. He says once they're marked, that's it. They struggle, and she picks up a spear gun and shoots the trigger, and boom! The ship sinks, and the girl helps. I don't know.
No, you can't read your handwriting.
Helps to free Epps, and the spirits go free. Epps floats on a container until she is found. She is in an ambulance at the docks and watches as a boat is loaded with crates and jack boards. She yells,
Well, I feel like you've missed the whole...
No!
I feel like you missed a whole section here.
You can read your part.
Okay, so we get a no.
And that's the end.
Okay, so I think what you forgot was that Epps and Dodge decided that they were going to C4 the boat into the next world. So because the whole point was that the boat has got to be filled up with souls. That was the main objective. And so it was almost there. They were like the last set of souls for the boat to be sent to the devil, basically. And the only reason why Katie wasn't a victim of said soul snatching was because she was a young, innocent girl that did no wrong. So, they
Epps sets explosives to open up the hull of the boat and sinks it once again.
Yeah.
I said that.
Okay. Well, but we see that Jack can also like take on like other forms to lure people, and then Katie also shows Epps like how he killed the crew. Like, he killed Francesca by putting a hook through her, like, up through her jaw. And because she was an accomplice, and there was, he also lured other people who dressed up like cooks.
Yeah. They were, I guess, intimate and partners. So he got her to help him originally when they were on the boat.
Mm.
And then when he was able to get on the boat and get to the gold, then he just strung her up.
No, the gold was was bait.
Right.
The gold was just his bait. So then we see that there was other guys who dressed up as cooks, poisoning the food, and then who they didn't poison, they gunned down in the pool area. Henceforth, why there's bullet holes and shells in the pool.
Yeah, because they were just trying to get to the gold.
Yeah, and then we see that Katie hung herself.
No, she was hung.
No, she was hung. Yeah, she was hung by the guys who were dressed up as cooks, and then Jack kills them off. Well, they turn on each other, and then because they were promised greed. I mean, just greed. Let's be honest here. And then, yeah. So that's what happened. And then, of course, we all see Epps' face like shocked that this is a huge revelation. Where you sort of get to see that coming. Like at least with the bullets in it. And so. Yeah, and then they blew the boat, and all the souls escaped, and into whatever, and Ferryman wasn't happy, and he reveals himself that he is the ferry, and he was just doing his job, just another day in the office type thing.
Work hard for my money.
Working for the weekend. And then, yeah. So he was a little sore that his
Working
oldest,
at this site for 20 years.
Yeah, almost there. And then, as Epps is being hauled into the ambulance, she sees Ferryman holding up the gold into the next boat. And then we get the
35 years to retirement.
Yep. And then we end in the movie. So, there's only like one song in this entire movie. Yep.
The one that she sings.
No, there was that heavy metal one. I forgot. It used to be like all over the airways for a long time.
Francesca sings a song in the movie. To lure him.
No, but there's also a heavy metal song that Santos plays, and then at the end it plays. I think it's like, I forgot who it was, but it used to be a really popular song. Alright, so my guess, my score is 3 out of 5 out of 5. And instead of like what I disliked about it, I'm going to say why I like it. Like the last one. So, first and foremost, I like this. This is a nostalgic watch for me. I really started getting into horror in the early 2000s. Because I was like a senior. I graduated 2003, so I was a senior. I had my own job. Back then, theaters were cheap. And I went to go see a lot of movies. And I started getting into horror. So this is one of those movies that I really enjoyed. And it has a lot of nostalgic purpose for me. So that's one thing. And so that's first and foremost. And then some more stuff I like about it is I like the setting of the film. Just because the fact of you don't see a lot of sea films. Or you don't... It's just not a big genre. So... And I also like the idea that this is a long-lost luxury liner. It's just adrift at sea. I've always had a fascination with like ghost ships and sea stuff. I feel like this is the perfect setting for a horror film, for the feeling of isolation. I also like the aged feel of the ship, and just the setting itself. And I like the Arctic Warrior crew and how they interacted with the Ghost crew. And I liked how the ghosts were used for other like information and stuff like that, other than they were used to lure and stuff like that. But there's very few jump scares in this film, which I feel like jump scares are very, very cheap. Some of the things I dislike about the film. The CGI is very dated. The character development is seriously lacking, especially with Munder and Dodge, which Munder is the face of the film. He is the recognizable face of the film. And the relationship with Epps and Murphy is just sort of... It really lacks something. You know there's a relationship there, you just don't know it, like, well, I'm not saying it's romantic, by far it's not. It's more of a father-daughter relationship, but it's sort of like they just threw it in there so she can be like the boss compared to Murph. But I mean, a lot of it's guessing. Like he probably was an alcoholic because he doesn't drink anymore. And then with all the Dark Castle films, the ending always falls flat. And this is just a personal thing of mine. With the music in the film, I would rather have the natural sounds of the ship and the sea compared to the ill-done music that was in it. Orchestral and stuff. I think that having the creaks and the moans of a luxury liner, or of just any sort of ship, is far more superior in creating an atmosphere than symphony music or generic music. Finally, this film is nostalgic, like I said. Also, it was really interesting to read the reviews of this film during the time, because I like to go back and read some of the stuff. And basically, people were saying that this movie should never have been made because it's not going to be a classic, or and it doesn't give anything to films overall. Honestly, I was glad it was made because at this time we see more experimental horror movies coming out and at the time that wasn't heavily influenced or just being remade. Like I said, it's one of the very few sea films that doesn't revolve around sharks or dino sharks. Or sharknadoes. Or shark hurricanes. Okay.
So I give it a 4 out of 5. Because of minor things. I think the storyline was done really well. Like you said, it does have a good atmosphere for horror. I do think that some of the names are very forgettable.
Especially Dodge and Munder.
The character development for some characters was good, and others, it was very bad. So that balance wasn't there. Minor details are lost because of the lack of the lighting wasn't good.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Did you watch this film prior? I mean, like, other than, like, when it first came out?
I watched it.
So is it sort of, like, nostalgic for you, too? Or is it more of a, like...
I've been going to the movie theater.
I'm...
Like...
Is it nostalgic to watch something, like, compared...
Not this film, though. It wasn't one of my favorite ones.
So it's more of a forgettable film? So what did you think of the ending?
I think the ending's good.
Sort of wish there was something more at the end.
It's okay.
Yeah. Alright. Anything else you want to say?
I think so.
So, yeah, I think that ends this episode. With all the Luna barking, I think, yeah. That was fun. So, I think this is it.
We'll scare you later.
Bye.